Okay, so in this episode, we're going to talk about planes, like different planes of existence in D&D.
Jet planes. Oh, God. Stop it.
I'm going to see if I can
But yeah, the planes of existence. In D&D, there are several different kinds of planes. It is towards the back, so if you just keep going from here...
There's this particular picture. If I can't find it in the book, I'll throw it up on the screen.
We'll throw it up there, yeah.
But it's done with all these different circles and...
The circle one's in the back.
Is it? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
All right.
So this right here is what we're talking about, and I'll put it on the screen
so
somewhere.
You can actually have a better look at it, but this is what we're going to be referencing a lot in this episode.
Okay. So... No, I'm not, because it's so...
There's so many.
So many, but just to kind of quickly, like, you've got the material plane in the middle. That's where everybody is. That's like Earth.
Yeah.
That's the planet.
That's where us mortals hang out.
And there's two parallel. It's kind of like the Fae and the Shadow plane, or the Shadowfell.
Around the material.
Yeah, and those kind of blend together. And then around that, you got the ethereal. Okay, that's kind of like a traveling plane.
Yeah.
Air, water, earth, and fire around
the
that.
elemental planes.
Yeah. And then you get the upper and the lower and the positive and the negative.
And there's chaos in there and all kinds of stuff like that. And then it just keeps getting more elaborate.
Yeah, and you can see that on screen, all those sort of things. So, I hate this. I hate this.
It's so complicated.
Yes. There's so much to keep up with. So I've taken this and altered it drastically to fit, one, my brain and what I can understand, and two, something that I think just fits my world better and fits the kind of story that I'm trying to tell. So I'll go ahead and start with mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have to do some drawing on the screen for this. So I wanted to take into account a few different elements. Represented here is different kind of locations, but also different alignments. So you've got like good stuff, bad stuff, and you got like neutral, chaotic, the different alignments. So what's that? Good, neutral, evil, chaotic, and lawful.
Yeah. So yours is like that, but just basically an alignment grid?
Not quite. Kinda. Okay. It's kinda. So in the middle, just like this is where some of the similarities lie. You have the material plane. That's where everyday humanoid folk, everything resides there. Then you have, still very similar, parallel to it, the Feywild and the Shadowfell. So these are two kind of like mirror images of the material plane. So if you go to the Feywild and you're in the same place, the geography is kind of same. The land masses are the same, the continents are the same, blah, 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 but it's a different kind of world. So on this vertical line, you have those three elements. And then for the Feywild, it represents good. It represents maybe a more pure version of the material plane. And it also, and this is where I differ, this is the source of magic. Okay. So if you think about it as a tube, magic is pouring out from the Feywild into the material plane. This is where everybody gets their magic from. And by the time it reaches the Shadowfell, there's not very much there. It's very...
it goes through all the way.
Yeah, think of it like a tube. Yeah. And so when it gets there, the Shadowfell isn't a place of magic, really. Okay, so that's going this way. And so I think I did good, neutral, evil on that spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now going this way, think of it like a cross. You have the 9 levels of heaven and the 9 levels of hell.
Mm-hmm.
So lawful, neutral, chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of fine tuning this
as you go.
As I go, it's something that I change, but I have the 9 levels of hell, and so for this world, and this is a fun thing that I've done. It's the first time I've done this, but I have mirrored or modeled the structure of hell as a corporate office. So depending on what level depends on what your status
How much
is.
paperwork you have to do?
Right, and so each floor, like the first level is the lobby.
Oh,
the second one is like accounting. After like the lobby, accounting, IT, public relations, human resources.
So everything we hate about corporate America.
Right, and so each floor has its own manager. Okay, and the manager is in charge of the little devils and demons, and that's something I know. Devils and demons are different, and I also hate that. Okay,
yeah, I mean, come on.
It's just like whatever. But in the way that I do it is devils are the smart ones, which they kind of are. They're the more structured individuals.
They're lawful evil.
And demons are more chaotic.
Chaotic evil.
Okay, but in my world, they reside in the same plane. It's just the devils rule over the demons. They're like the brains, and they're kind of like slave work.
Gotcha.
Or forced labor, or whatever. They get out of hand, they just whip them back into shape and keep going. Because productivity is important.
Is important.
In hell.
In hell.
So start. You got lobbying, you got the accounting, you got human resources, you've got the mail room / warehouse, you've got HR, you've got research and development. I can't remember all of them. There's 9, and like the very bottom, because it goes from top to bottom, is CEO. This is like the
devil.
The devil, Lucifer, whatever. I don't know.
We haven't gone that deep yet.
I have not. Neither have my players.
I'm about to say, probably don't have any intentions of doing that anytime soon, because that's like epic level stuff, probably.
It is. And then I did take and enjoyed so the levels, like you descend into hell, and I like the idea of ascending into heaven. So I took the Mount Olympus or Mount whatever idea, and you've got the 9 mountaintops of heaven. And so each one, and I haven't thought this one out as much as I have the lower levels, but so each one will have its own kind of structure like hell did.
Yeah.
So you've got this a very lawful good up top, lawful evil at the bottom, chaotic good over here, and
lawful good.
No, it's evil, maybe neutral. Yeah, I think I did neutral. So the material plane is a mixture of all.
It all converges.
It all comes down into the center. Because at one point, and this is just kind of fluff lore, all of these planes coexisted. Each one has their own ruler. So for the Feywild, his name is Buvon. They only know him as a raccoon at this moment, but he has a brother who is in charge of the Shadowfell, and then they have the.
And then it builds and builds and builds and builds.
Right. Anyway, so that's my planar structure. It's extremely homebrewed, and I like it. I don't like that. I don't like that.
You're not going to believe this, but mine's almost exactly the same. It is. It really is. It's almost exactly verbatim what you said.
Even the office?
No, not the office thing. That was totally you. Only your mind can think of hell as a corporate office. Because that is your hell. That's like how you die inside if you had a 9-to-5 desk job.
Well, I have this one particular devil that's like been trying to... His job is recruitment. Okay, so he's been trying to recruit the group to help them with a certain task. Now,
he sets up tables at high schools.
Right now, the devils are invading the Feywilds, trying to harvest that potent
magic, that raw magic,
to do something mischievous.
Evil.
Yeah, and they know that the party has become notorious for being very strong. Like, hey, let's get them on our side, give them a little power. And maybe they'll just let us do our thing and ignore us. I offered them spell slots.
Oh.
I was like, we've harvested a lot of this magic.
Those are valuable in my world.
We've harvested this magic from the Feywild. We'll give you some, and we'll increase. Like, I have a lot of magic users and non-magic users. Like, I will increase your spell slots. Don't have spell slots? Do you want spell slots? We have the power to do it. Anyway, I enticed them with something
that's pretty good. Yeah, that's good.
But they didn't
just
buy
gotta
it.
sell your
Their moral
soul.
compass wouldn't allow it. Anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, and so there's not magic in the Shadowfell, but I consider souls to be another source of energy.
Mm-hmm.
Things can be powered by magic, or they could be powered by souls, depending on how you want to run your operation.
Right.
And so, Shadowfell is a place of souls, and Feywild is a place of magic.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So.
But mine is like, there's the material, there's the Feywild, there's the Shadowfell.
Yeah.
And then I've got the elemental planes that I use. And then basically outside of that, there is Heaven Realm and Hellish Realm.
Yeah.
I also like using the 9 circles thing.
Yeah.
But it's more like the traditional Dante's Inferno kind of hell. And stuff like that. And then in heaven, there's the 9 peaks of heaven. I kid you not. I said 9 peaks of heaven to my players not 3 sessions ago. It was, yeah, you were like, and I was like, and I was like, no one is going to believe that this is exactly the same, but it is. But yeah, which just kind of delves into the fact that you and I are so big into our faith. But anyway, that's a whole nother thing. But yeah, basically in those heavenly and hellish realms, I haven't really fleshed them out much. But basically the idea is that heaven is infinite, hell is also infinite. They are just good and bad. So depending on what deity a character may follow, there's a slice of heaven for them. You know, like dwarves, they follow Moradin. He's the Forge Father and all of that good stuff. So there's a dwarf heaven. You know, basically, there's a part of the heavenly realm that has specific dwarf awesomeness in it.
Okay, so like maybe I kind of spaced out. I'm sorry, but in my brain, I'm thinking like each peak could maybe you're saying represents a different
quite
race
possibly or something like that, or there are different kinds of gods that reside on one mountain and all kinds of stuff like that. And basically, hell is the same thing with all the evils. This really got fleshed out a lot when my group was in a prison. They were taken prisoner, and they had to break out, of course. Because the bad guys like took them prisoner and they were blah 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 being bad guys, and basically they find out this prison is actually a necromantic research and development place. So there's zombies everywhere, and I'm not talking about just human zombies. I'm talking.
Is that where the Beholder zombie came in?
Beholder zombies, giant zombies. I mean, it was nightmarish. And they're going through, and they actually, God bless them, they weren't just escaping. They actually dungeon crawled the whole thing. They covered it all. Nice. And so they, in this one place, it was like like an office or something. Somebody did their research in here, and then they had like a workroom attached to it. So they go through there and they find it, and they were like, "Do we find like anything weird and anything?" And I'm like, "Well, it's a necromancer's workshop, so yes, you find a lot of weird stuff." And basically, one was this book, and I was like, "You pick up the book and it's cold." And my barbarian orc said, "I put it in my shirt," and I said, now I can have some fun. And basically I said, it is cold. It's like burning cold kind of stuff. And he's like, ugh. And I'm like, you don't feel good about this? And basically I said, you need to do something or start taking damage. And he's like, ugh. I start taking off my armor and stuff like that. And he's trying to get it out and he can't get it out. Basically he gets all of his armor off almost. And I said, it has attached itself to your chest. And he's like, ugh. And basically a whole bunch of other stuff happens. It like curses them and a few other people. It's basically an evil artifact that they have stumbled across that I created on the spot. And I basically called it one of the tomes of Gehenna, which is one of the 9 circles of hell. And basically through some religious checks and some fact finding that they did, they were like, what is this thing? And I'm like, basically you guys would know, because one of them was a cleric. I'm like, in your study of religion, you would know that there are 9 levels of hell. And this thing was the 9th tome of Gehenna, meaning it is the book from the deepest circle of hell. And I rolled for the circle. Yeah. I was like, D10, 9. Man, okay. So I'm like, and that's the whole fact that it's cold comes from the Inferno, like the 9th level circle of hell was a frozen wasteland. Mm-hmm. So I just sort of ran with that. And basically they like get it detached, they throw it down. There's a whole bunch of stuff that makes their escape even harder because they're cursed. One was laughing uncontrollably, one was hallucinating uncontrollably, and one didn't care about anything that was going on anymore. So he was trying in character to leave the party. He was literally trying to leave and go do what he wanted to do, which he reverted to what he was doing before the campaign started. Like he went back kind of stuff. So, they didn't take it with them. They threw it down and they left it there. But basically, when they started, like, reaching out to... Because the cleric, I have this thing where if she rolls well enough on one of her religion checks, she could actually, like, go into a trance and commune with her god. She's the moon god.
Okay.
So, I'm like, if you roll high enough, you can, there she is. Talk to her for a certain amount of time. And basically, they told her about this, and her god was like, do you still have it? And they're like, no, we left it. And they're like, oh, God, it's loose. And just did a bunch of overshadowing of what could possibly come. And then my rogue took a couple levels of warlock, and he's one of the people that doesn't really care about developing much apart from what he needs to play the game. So... he came up with, he wanted to do something that is specific depending on what patron you align yourself with.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now you've got to pick your patron. We've kind of left it up in the air at this point, but you've got to pick one now, because this matters, Mm-hmm. And he basically, he doesn't like to make his own choices, so he let the dice pick, and he ended up being an archfey. And I was like, all right, which archfey? And he's like, well, I don't know what they are. So we looked him up. I got a list, and I said, roll me a dice, because that's what he wanted to do. And he ended up... his patron is like one of the highest level vampire archfiends from the Feywild.
Wow.
Yeah. So when he was talking to him, he was like, you found a what? Do you still have it? I will pay you for it. And he was like, well, maybe if I find it again, I'll do that. But basically, I have heavily hinted to them that there are bigger things going on in the multiverse than what they've got going on.
Yeah.
And so, through that one little random artifact, I fleshed out a lot of this. But yeah, 9 hells, 9 peaks, dude, I swear. It's That's exactly crazy. The same.
Yeah. So, I haven't quite fleshed out what each peak is for, and like who's kind of like there's going to be a CEO of the hells, and then there's going to be somebody at the very top, Jesus Christ. No, I'm just kidding. But hey. There's something.
Side note, I am turning the Bible into a campaign. Anyway, go ahead.
That's awesome. So each realm has a ruler. Okay. The whole reason they all split is because the different major deities could not agree on whatever. So they all split, took their own domains, whatever. So the domain person for the material is a dragon. It's the god of the dragons. Mm-hmm. I think it's like Tiamat in the D&D universe. I haven't quite fleshed out how I want it to be in mine. But,
well, Tiamat's the evil one. There's a good one, too.
Is there a good one?
Yeah, it's Bahamut.
Okay. So that's kind of where I'm headed for there. And right now, they're having some conflict with some dragons. And it's because of stuff that's going on in the realm.
And on a much higher plane of existence.
Which is, their book thing reminded me, a short story. And I haven't quite figured out exactly how I'm doing it. So my group has been going for a while, and I like to run high fantasy, high magic worlds.
Yeah,
I like magic items to be kind of available. I have a traveling gypsy cavern that just comes through town every once in a while, and they get random stuff that I just roll.
Stuff. Yeah.
And so players, they have a pretty good amount of magic items between themselves. Some that they use, because I do make them attune to, get 3.
So you do follow the attunement.
I do follow the attunement. I think it kind of helps with having too many magical items. So you have to kind of pick which one's most important to me, which ones want to hold on to. And since they hit that dragon horde, they're not hurting for gold per se, so they could, these magical items could be a good source of income if they needed it.
Right.
That's a good thing they're for. But I was just kind of looking at the character sheets, and I was like, they got a lot of magic items they don't use. And I was trying to just be creative to figure out how to fix that. So I came up with, and this is kind of on the spot thing. I did not plan this ahead of time. But they found a book, and it was magical, and that they opened it up, and the pages were blank. And so the wizard cast, detect magic, identify, trying to figure out how it worked, an arcana check. Basically figured out that the book, if you take a magic item, put it on the pages, ask it a question, it will give you the answer and destroy the magic item.
Oh.
So they tried it out. They put a magical ring on there, asked it a question. The item absorbed into the book, and as if somebody was writing it on the page itself,
an entry was created,
and it stays there in the book. Okay, so they can go back to it and look at it if they need to. So I was like, oh, this is cool. In my brain, and I've never said this, so if you're watching this and you're part of my Tuesday game, minor spoiler, okay, in my brain, and this is mostly for humor, but also just for a cool explanation of why this magic item works. Somebody in one of the peaks of heaven's job is to write in this book. They just sit there all day and wait for a magic item to come through, and then they write out the answer. And that's why it looks like somebody's writing. So in my brain, there's somebody in one of the 9 peaks of heaven
doing this, and there's a possibility your people could meet them one day.
Exactly. I love that.
That's great. I love that. That's really good. Just when they come across it and you don't tell them right away, just to watch them like piece it together. And they're gonna be like,
yep.
That's good. Which another episode now needs to be magic items that we love.
Or magic items that
we've created. Yeah, because the ones in the book, it's easy. But ones that you've come up with that you like, yeah, totally.
Yeah. All right. What was the topic of this one?
Planes. Yeah, the planes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the planes and your deities and stuff like that.
Yeah. If you want to contribute to the conversation down in the comments, do that. Let us know what you think. If you think our ideas are garbage, or if you've got a cool idea, if you like our idea, let us know. Also, you can talk about it in Discord. Link is in the description. Go follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and if you haven't hit subscribe, do that.
We need to have a Between Two Beards server on there now, specifically for these kinds of discussions.
Yes, we'll do that.
We'll do that Between Two Beards.
Yeah,
with Owlbears.
With Owlbears. 2 of them. Just 2 hours.
Just 2 hours. Yeah.